Hello everyone, Leonardo Cornejo here with another video. Right before going to sleep, I decided to make this one because I was thinking of something that bothered me quite a lot. You see, as I mentioned before, I'm a novelist. I basically write fantasy novels, and one of the main characters of the series I have already published is Wolf Lolly. That's how I can describe her without giving much of spoilers. The thing is, I'm quite open in regards to my taste for lolly art and all that stuff. And there is this guy, this breadtuber called Duncan. I don't remember his full name or his username. But well, I will put a screen cap of some of his idiocy on as the thumbnail for this video anyway. The thing is, this coward was basically harassing a guy who spoke in favor of Lolly. This guy, as the usual morally centered communist, is against Lolly, so he started harassing this guy, and I decided to hit this him a bit after he said basically that after he basically said lolicons had no value to society, and I was like, bitch, I wrote a novel, bitch, I wrote a novel, look, my family loves me despite being a lolicon. And the guy allegedly, well, he did actually, because it was in the in the sales report, the guy about my novel saying he would make a dramatic reading for his audience. The guy probably assumed it would be funny to laugh at. How did he say? This furry lolicon wrote a novel about a furry lolly, and I'm going to make a dramatic reading or something like that. Well, the guy thought he would find something basically stereotypical, I guess, and expected to laugh at it, but I never saw him delivering, and he actually asked for a refund about 1 or 2 days of saying, oh, I'm going to read it, I'm going to do a dramatic reading of this. He didn't read it. Let's face it, he didn't read it because it wasn't anywhere. I couldn't find his alleged dramatic reading anywhere. I actually tried to find it because I wanted to laugh at it, but the coward didn't do it. And what pisses me off the most is knowing why. Because he realized what I said would happen. Right when he said, oh, I bought your book to make a dramatic reading, I was like, yeah, cool, go ahead, I'm not scared. I actually think it will be a great thing. Because you're going to cause a Streisand effect. Because I know how this works. There are two possibilities. Either his woke audience hates it, and then people who are not into woke stuff start checking it out, because, well, there is this guy who is the target of woke idiots. Or his woke audience loves it, and my novel becomes a universal success. Because, well, I don't have anything woke in it, and I don't fucking like woke people, but my novels are not very political, to be honest. There are some jabs at feminism in the first one, and that's it. That's it. They are not very political. I don't like political preaching. I don't like it when people use it on me. And basically the story arc with a few jabs at feminism was inspired because I thought when there were several cases of things feminists did and said back in 2014 to 2016 that had me thinking, this is shit that a villain will do. Like, for example, putting men in concentration camps, which was proposed by a British feminist. Ask Sargon of Akkad about it. And there was this proposal of reducing the population of men to 10%. Those things sound like stuff a supervillain do. So I thought of writing. There is no mention of the term feminism, in fact, but of writing basically a force of evil doing all those things to control and divide. So it wasn't even preaching. I just thought, damn, this looks like something a super villain will do. And well, a villain in general, a tyrant. And in fact, it is a tyrant. It is a tyrant who, under the guise of giving women political power, plans to overthrow a kingdom and become its dictator. I won't spoil it all, but I will say, in fact, this person was inspired by Anita Sarkeesian. Well, going back to Mr. Duncan. Since my novels are not very political and they don't even throw names of neither movements nor individuals from real life, I am pretty much sure even someone who is woke could find it entertaining, at least for the first five chapters, at least before the revolution arc, when it gets political, and that's the last part, the last point in the series where it will get really political. I mean, there are mentions of kings and all that stuff, but that's as far as the political part goes. It's not very political. I don't even want it to be, because I want to center around the characters, and I want to center specifically around Ruba. I really like her. She's basically what I think is the best protagonist I could come up with. So I want her to be the center of attention. Even I must stay behind her in terms of attention. I don't want to be the center of attention because the one who matters is her. And she's not even a real person. That's the saddest part. But well, I guess that's because I want my characters to have value instead of focusing on myself or on the message or all that stuff. I think it's this breadtuber Duncan. He was like, "Oh, I'm going to screw you," making a dramatic reading, and I thought, go ahead, do it. There will be a stress and effect, because you will mock something that is good, and I think he realized, because that's the only explanation I can have as to why it didn't happen. Because he already bought, he did buy it. He did buy the novel. It was in the count. In fact, I know where he lives, thanks to that. Well, not precisely. The system wouldn't dox him, but I didn't even know much about him. But I know he's from the UK, because in fact the purchase was recorded in United Kingdom pounds. So since he purchased it from Amazon UK, it was recorded as a number change. I know where, when, and who, basically. Well, not who directly, but based on the people who claim to buy it, who, where, and when they bought it. And that's how I know, in fact. I also know about the page count of Amazon's subscription service, Kindle Unlimited. So I know I know when a review is legitimate because of the date, and the page count of reads or purchase. So basically, if someone didn't read it at all, it doesn't show a change in the page count. So I know that there is this Matty, I don't remember who, Matty Young or something like that. That review, I know it is entirely politically based because of that, because there was no change in page count when that person left the review. That person didn't read the book. That's something I am certain, and it's because of that. So I don't know, and anyone who sells books on Amazon knows when the book is sold, where the book was sold, in which store, and that's how one is capable of triangulating. Naturally, if you are a big name, if you really get more sales than I do, I don't get that many, it will be harder to tell. But when someone literally tells you, I bought their book, and you see a change in the number from 1 hour before to that moment, you know that person bought it. So Duncan did buy it. And like 1 or 2 days later, he asked for a refund. So he didn't read it. He bought it. Well, maybe he did read it. He started. He didn't do the dramatic reading. He chickened out, probably because he started reading it. Probably he went through the prologue. Okay, this starts slow. This is fucking boring, actually. Went to chapter 1. Damn, Ru is fucking cute. I can show this to my audience. It will benefit him. And he chickened out. I am exaggerating. I don't think he really started yelling or anything. And I bet he didn't find Ru cute. He's a fucking commie. Communists don't like cute wolf lollies. No, but the guy probably said, no, this doesn't have anything obscene, anything sexual, anything explicit, and the book really doesn't go that far in that field. There is some fan service, there are some fan service scenes, but not only they are in a very advanced part of the book, but also they kind of try to stay PG-13, because I don't want the book to be erotic. It is not meant to be. My book, and I take pride on it, my book has less sexual content than most YA books. And I take pride in it because I am not good at writing erotic content. And because I think it is too cliche to add erotic content to an action story, to an adventure story, to a fantasy story. So I think I'm breaking the mold. So since I am not following the habits of the industry, I take pride in it. So it has fan service, but it is not precisely erotic. That's up to you, audience. That's up to you, readers. You are the ones who will write the saucy fanfics and who will draw Rule 34 of Ruwa. Please do. I really want it. I really feel like Yoko Taro with Nier Automata. When he said he wanted to collect all the Rule 34 of 2B, I feel the same about Ruwa. About pretty much every female character I have written, but the other ones are in unreleased projects or are part of the same series, and well, she's the main character, so she's the most important one right now. The thing is, the guy probably began to read it and think, this isn't bad. This is an entertaining read. It isn't perfect, but it is good enough. It is good enough to have fun with it. I can't make a dramatic reading of it and try to ridicule it, because then I will look like an idiot. And he decided to ask for a refund because he didn't have plans of reading the whole thing. He didn't even like it enough to read it. But he probably felt, if I read it, people will like it and he will get attention. And of course that's not what he planned. He wanted to sabotage me. Of course it wouldn't work. I was confident it wouldn't work. He would either chicken out or give me a Streisand effect. I wanted the Streisand effect, not gonna lie, but I am pleased with having realized he chickened out. And the guy keeps going after this other guy who is more valuable than me to society, who made a research paper on lolly art. And this guy, in fact, it was because he started harassing him that I got involved in it. Seriously, I haven't never seen a bigger piece of shit thinking he's cool. And having an audience online and I mean, this guy has nothing. I mean, I did some quick research on him, and the guy, well, he started off as this guy who played Pokemon, like 1,000 guys who played Pokemon, and then went obsessed with getting political. Well, I have seen worse pieces of shit actually who are famous, but I have never seen someone so. He's bothersome in particular to me. Maybe because he targets things I like, and he still thinks he's amazing despite being very inferior. I don't know. I don't know. Something about him bothers me a lot more than many others. I think ever since Anita Sarkeesian, no one has ever bothered me that much. But no, wait. Ever since Jonathan McIntosh. Jonathan McIntosh was worse than Anita Sarkeesian. I don't know why these guys can't just mind their fucking business instead of attacking our hobbies. And that's I don't know. They are really pathetic. They are really pathetic because that's his sole purpose in all of this, attacking our hobbies. At least the comic book pros have the merit of being able to do something. It isn't good, but at least they did make some drawings, or they did write something. They did something other than just attacking someone else's hobbies. They are pieces of garbage, of course, but at least they try to pretend they are not. But this guy's sole purpose is bad mouthing people. And yeah, someone is going to say, probably some fucking communist or someone on his side. Oh, but you're doing the same. Yeah, because he did to me, and he did to someone I like, and because he started attacking my hobbies, and that's why I'm bad mouthing him now. And and the thing is, the lefties say all the time, oh no, we don't punch down, we punch up, we don't punch down. They do, and he did, because that's exactly what he did. He punched down on a guy who he knew was unpopular and whose views were controversial. Someone who isn't as good at presenting his opinion, his views, and his research in front of an audience of assholes, and a guy who constantly interrupted him, because Duncan constantly interrupted him. He never let him finish a sentence. Basically, this researcher isn't that good dealing with sabotage. And Duncan knew it, because he knew this guy is a nerd. This guy is basically a book smart guy, and that kind of people tends to handle social situations with less, how do I say, with less malice, with less preparation, more naively. Even myself. He isn't that good at handling sabotage, so Duncan went and attacked him, and made sure everything was basically, and it looked staged, as in Duncan was ready to ridicule whatever he said. That's why Duncan was interrupting him, because it was all about ridiculing the guy, about basically bad mouthing him, and even in fact, despite the guy being a lot superior, a lot better than Duncan in all senses, because this guy made a research paper on Loli. He conducted research on it. Duncan called him a loser, and in fact Duncan had the audacity of redefining otaku as loser. Otaku isn't loser. I don't remember the exact etymological origin, but it's basically someone with an obsession on a topic. There are gun otaku, there are anime otaku, and that's the thing. They are there was a social stigma, but the social stigma began to lower because otaku are really obsessive and they are profitable people because of that. Because a gun otaku is going to buy plenty of gun paraphernalia. So this guy Duncan began to say, "Oh, but otaku means loser. Otaku means loser." He's a fucking liar. It doesn't mean loser. And he used that to call this researcher a loser. I forgot the researcher's name. Fucking shit. He deserves to be named, but I forgot his name because my memory sucks for real life stuff. I can store an entire novel series here, up to book four, up to book four. The next ones are in progress. I can store an entire novel series here in my head, but I can't remember a single fucking name of someone I don't interact with regularly. But well, this guy Duncan constantly called him a loser. What does it if that researcher is a loser? What does it make of Duncan? Because someone whose entire function is talking about people he calls as losers is an even bigger loser. And Duncan does that. Ever since he basically began to get political and moved from Pokemon to politics, the guy's sole purpose is bad-mouthing people he thinks are below him. And as I said, that debate shows he goes for the disadvantaged guy. He goes for someone he can interrupt, belittle, and abuse. He goes for an underdog and bullies him. The reason he didn't, and I am 100% sure of it, the reason he didn't read my novels is because they are not really controversial. They are fun to read. They are made to be fun to read. There is no deep political message. There is nothing out of the normal within fantasy. I mean, let me put it this way. If you read a fantasy novel, what do you expect? Magic, people with supernatural powers, monsters, non-humans. Let's say using, for example, I haven't played Elder Scrolls, but it is very famous, so people get it. Let's say my novel would be very similar to a story set in that world where a human and a Khajiit travel together. The Khajiit were from the Elder Scrolls, right? I am not misremembering. My memory sucks and I mix things up. The thing is, yes, Rua is a furry wolf lolly, but it is not central that she's covered in fur. Well, there are some mentions of people not being very nice to to werewolves, but that has a historical context, a historical reason, and it is not only to werewolves, vampires, dark elves, halflings, gnomes. There are certain groups which are treated like shit by other groups because of an old war, an old grudge, which is pretty much already over, so it is not even that common that there is discrimination. Demons, they also get in the thing, but in fact there is so little political message and so little relevance to the notion of discrimination that in fact there is an entire vampire kingdom, more than one in fact. But there is like this slight friction between humans and werewolves, but this is not even a big deal. There is not much mention of it as basically it is just because she looks cute that way. In fact, there was not much reason behind making her a furry beyond that. I mean, I like certain stuffs from the furry art style, and more specifically of the Japanese furry art style. What they here in the West they call it kemono, but kemono for them includes other stuff. But for example, Beastars, BNA, that well they are popular with the furry fandom in the West, but they are not the same thing as what the furries in the West like. To be honest, American furries, they really got some issues. I mean, I have seen some things from American furries that really make me feel frustrated. I will put it that way. I don't want to start yelling or saying that much, so they make me feel really frustrated. So yeah, I understand why there is a stigma about furry in America, because well, that's the kind of furries they got. I am more into the Japanese stuff, like Made in Abyss with Nanachi. That character is a furry, and she's extremely cute. And that's why I decided to make Ruwa look that way, because I thought I actually drew inspiration from several loli characters for Ruwa, and one of them was furry wolf loli, and that's why I said, well, she looks cute that way. There is another funny thing, as I said. I'm going back to that. Duncan thought my novel would be like, I don't know, some sort of um, creepy Discord admin stuff. Don't know, but I bet that's what it was, what was in his mind. And it would be like some sort of creepy Discord admin level stuff, like the kind of stuff you see at some obscure furry pedophile erotica site or something like that, and it is not. It is not even erotic at all. As I said, there is a bit of fan service, a running gag of Ruga taking underwear from defeated opponents as a sort of trophy because she wants to humiliate them, and someone suggested it would be extremely humiliating if she took their underwear, and it was a joke, but Ruga is very good with humor, I guess. At least not with that kind of humor, and she took it seriously. uh, it is not it is not explicit at all, at least not from my perspective. It is meant to imitate the style of anime and manga, so it is not explicit. It is not intended. There are fan service scenes, but there is not what Duncan expected. What I think he expected. He even had the audacity of saying the main character's in it is a self-insert of me. No, he's not. He's a lot more awesome than I will ever be. I can't even handle a real life sword, so he's a lot more awesome than I will ever be. And in fact, he is inspired by Geralt of Rivia. The reason he has green eyes and brown hair is because I thought black hair was too common on fantasy protagonists. Thank you, Kirito. No, seriously, it was because I didn't want him to be like Kirito in that regard. I didn't want him to have black hair. I didn't want him to be a blonde because I don't like the idea of this half demon guy being a blonde. Doesn't doesn't go well with his design. And in fact, another character was already a blonde, and it's his ex-girlfriend, so it would be like weird, like both you and your ex are blondes. And I didn't want him to have white hair because he would look like a Geralt ripoff if he had white hair. He was inspired by Geralt, so I couldn't afford giving him white hair. So I went for brown because it is a relatively common hair color, and in fact I thought I was like brainstorming in terms of his design, because I actually dreamed him. Both Senet and Rugo are based on a dream. The dream is in fact the prologue of the novel. And he in the dream she was dressed like a Japanese priestess, and I wasn't sure if she was a wolf or a fox, but I went for wolf. And he had black hair. And that dream came from literally reading some fox girl ero manga with a lolly fox girl and playing The Witcher that night. But I didn't want. I dreamed him with black hair, but as I said, I didn't want him to have black hair, and he was inspired by Geralt, so I was like brainstorming, and I thought, no, red hair, no, because Rue is a redhead. Blonde, no, because his sex is a blonde. Black hair, no, even though it was in the dream, because fuck Kirito. And white hair, no, because he would look like a clone of Geralt. So I went for brown hair. I actually thought that that's cool. That's cool because most protagonists have weird looking hair, have cool looking hair, and well, besides of him having the long straight hair, his hair isn't really that cool. He just has plain brown, ordinary looking hair. And went from for green eyes because I really like green eyes, and because Ruwa couldn't have green eyes. Why? Because well, I like redheads with green eyes. That's the kind of girl I like. Ever heard of Breath of Fire 2? Look up Kat is a girl from that game. That's her name. Katt. Look her up, and you will understand my tastes in women. The thing is, I couldn't give Ruwa green eyes because I felt it would look weird with her all furry wolf thing. So I went for a golden yellowish eyes, more wolf-like. And I wanted someone to have green eyes, so it had to be Seneth. And kind of reverse because Geralt has these golden yellow eyes. And so it kind of reversed the eye color in these two characters. And I thought it looked cool. And this guy, Duncan, thinks Sened is a self-insert, and he was like, oh, he's a self-insert. No, he's not. Maybe that's where he realized. Because he probably assumed the novel would be in first person, which is better for a dramatic reading, and it was in third person, and maybe that's the point where he realized this thing isn't what I can really ridicule. The guy wanted to punch down, and he couldn't. And that's the thing. He goes for weaker targets. Targets who are weaker than him in one way or another. Maybe they are smarter than him, maybe they have... no, they are smarter than him, they have a better argument than his, but they are either incapable of defending themselves, already in the public eye, or incapable of holding sabotage, which is the case with that research. But in my case, I wasn't in the public eye, which means I'm a nobody to him and to many, so he will just draw attention to me. I wouldn't be there. I will let my novel do the talking. And that was inconvenient to him. Because if my novel does the talking, he can't punch down. Because I am a fucking idiot. But my novels are good enough. I am bad with words live. I am bad with words when spoken. But when writing, I am good enough. I am not going to say I'm perfect, I am not going to say I'm awesome, but I am good enough. So when it comes to defending myself, if I defend myself, I'm gonna fail. But if my books defend me, if my books do the talking, I'm on the winning end. Unless it is someone who really hates anime and manga and fantasy novels and literature in general, in which case they will think I'm a fucking nerd. Because, well, it is the culmination of years of playing video games and reading manga and watching anime, so... In fact, I will talk further and I will talk into further detail about all the inspirations, and I will repeat some of the stuff I said here in another video. Because I think it is fun to talk about it, and it is a way to introduce my characters and my story without giving you spoilers. Because I don't want to give you spoilers. I don't really mind the spoilers, but I don't want to give you spoilers. As I was saying, since my writing, my books, are good enough to defend me. I am not going to say, oh, award winning or all that stuff. I am not that arrogant yet. But they are good enough. They are good enough to entertain people. He had no chance, Duncan had no chance of punching down with them. And that's why he asked for a refund. Because he chickened. Because he's a fucking coward. And I don't like to talk about people. But the guy really pissed me off. The way he treated this researcher was what really pissed me off enough to talk about him. Because he won't let go. The researcher made a video defending himself in response to Duncan. And Duncan went and basically made a whole live stream of him attacking the guy. Duncan is a piece of shit. Just like any other communist. But this one really proves what we say. Because he punched down on someone. And these guys, remember, these communists, these leftists, always say the right punches down, the right punches down, and this motherfucker punched down. Well, that's it for today. Have fun. Still on Flame, Book 1 of the Guilds of Avlaan series is available on Amazon. If you like fluffy wolf lolly protagonists and Japanese light novels, follow the link below to check it out.